The conscious mind of man was formed in the Garden of Eden when Adam embraced a knowledge system called good and evil. Before that, Adam knew nothing about these opposites, for in the realm of spirit there is no such thing as evil. There is only one spirit in this universe, and that is God. Good and evil only exists in the physical material world, and not the spirit world. Jesus explained the division between flesh and spirit by saying, "That which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the spirit is spirit." Because man chose to embrace the tree of knowledge of good and evil, his mind underwent a dramatic change. Whatever he needed as a spirit man in the garden, he could bring forth out of himself. At that time, his mind was one, functioning in unison, so whatever he desired was available to him. He never had to plow the ground nor hunt for food in the garden. Everything flowed out of his spirit being. The male and the female mind are actually the same mind functioning as one in the beginning, but another knowledge system called good and evil separated them. It was the conscious mind functioning in the woman that brought about their expulsion from the garden and their failure to function out of the true spiritual center of consciousness, which could not be corrupted. So Eve acted out of her knowledge, gathered by her 5 natural senses, without reference to her true spiritual center, which was her subconscious mind. Since then, the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of our conscious mind is the result of our education, culture, and religion, which combine to produce our intellect. Most of our programming of our conscious mind is done by mortal man, and includes the multitudes of opposites that good and evil have introduced into our thinking. However, our subconscious mind has been impregnated with all the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of God the Almighty. Unfortunately, the conscious mind has a potential for death and has the power to rob us of the life we were given in creation by spreading its poison in man and destroying his life. Paul, he gives us the answer to this problem of mind duality. And he says, "And be not conformed to this world. Do not allow your mind to be patterned according to the thinking of this world or illusion. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." Allow a total and complete reformat of your mind, that ye may prove what is that is good and acceptable and perfect will of God. The mind is part of the soul. This is part of the spirit man that we are. The duality of mind is male and female in the man's identity, which in the beginning functioned as one. The male aspect of man is the subconscious, or our consciousness, which is impregnated with all knowledge, wisdom, life, and power of God, while the female part is the conscious mind, which is dependent upon the subconscious mind to bring to birth and into manifestation the thoughts and intents of our conscious mind. So man has the power to create the person we believe ourselves to be, rich or poor, to be sick or well, to be a failure or successful, to be good and evil, to live out our true identity as Christ, or to live as a mortal human being. Here is the secret of sowing and reaping, which we need to understand. Whatsoever a man sows, that is what he will reap. If he sows to the flesh, he will also reap corruption. But if he sows to the Spirit, he will reap life. Our thoughts are like seeds. and our consciousness is like a garden in which we sow these seeds. And so every thought will produce a cause or an effect. That cause or effect will have either a positive or a negative effect on our lives. We cannot blame God for the pain or suffering or the problems that are the result of thoughts that we planted into our consciousness, for we planted them and we reap the harvest, whatever that may be. The psalmist understood this when he prayed, "Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer." Paul, he also tells us to cast down imaginations of every high thing that exalts itself above the knowledge of God, to bring every thought into captivity to the truth that is revealed in Christ. Your consciousness contains all perfection in which we were created. Our DNA, if you like, is still intact, and there is a power that is constantly seeking to restore us back to that image. All it needs is for the carnal programming of our consciousness and our mind to be deleted and replaced by the original mind of Christ, to be born again. And the seed thoughts of our true identity will bring forth the manifestation. So, Proverbs 23:7, "For as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." Jesus went up to a man with a withered arm and simply said, "Stretch forth your arm," and the arm shot out in response. Could Jesus not see that the man had a paralyzed arm? We would have said, "Lord, be reasonable. This man's arm cannot move. Why don't you fix those muscles and heal the arm so he can use it again?" Yes, that is what we would have said. But at the pool of Bethesda, Jesus found a man who had been paralyzed for 38 years. He asked him nothing about his condition and to what the doctors had told him. All he said to the man was, "Do you really want to be healed?" And the man replied, "Yes." And so Jesus simply said, "Pick up your bed and go home." So, what does such a command have to do with healing as we understand it today? Nothing at all. What is the key to these things that we call miracles? When Jesus looked at the man, he did not see what you and I would have seen, because he would have seen a crippled body probably lying in a fetal position, and he would have walked right past him, considering him to be past any kind of help. We would have gone looking for someone perhaps with a headache to see if we could help them. Jesus looked at the man as he appeared through the eyes of God, standing up straight with no sign of sickness, in the likeness of image of God. So when Jesus planted that divine thought in his consciousness, the power of God responded, bringing forth a manifestation of what Jesus saw. Jesus said, "I and my Father are one." There are relatively few people who could say that today with conviction, because our minds have been programmed to believe that God is totally separate from man. The religious leaders of his day wanted to kill Jesus for his blasphemy when he made that statement. It was so obvious that he was assuming a relationship with God that they did not believe was possible for any man to have. So Jesus functioned out of a mind and another knowledge system that was different to the people of his day. So to explore this other mind, which Paul said we should embrace and allow to function in us and regulate our life and behavior. The truth is, we really don't have two minds. But since the Garden of Eden, man became a duality because his mind focused on the knowledge of good and evil, which he's able to bring into manifestation. He called this manifestation woman, knowing that it was, in fact, a part of his own being. He declared this woman was bone of his bone and flesh of his flesh, and mankind became a living soul. The living soul is a man whose mind has been divided with the conscious mind accepting good and evil as truth. This causes the subconscious mind to bring into manifestation the dual issues of good and evil, which it had not done before. The truth is revealed to us that these early chapters of Genesis in the form of allegory, because there is no other way God could reveal such things to us. But its importance is absolutely vital for us to understand in order to stem downward spiral into what man has become trapped in. Man became duality because the conscious mind in the form of a woman began to function apart from Adam, who represents the subconscious mind of man, or his consciousness. Notice that God did not recognize this woman as a separate entity from Adam, and he never called her Eve as Adam did. Genesis 5, 1-2, he called their name Adam. And Adam, who called her Eve, for he said she is the mother of all living, meaning that all mankind would now be born through the duality of the conscious mind of man, declaring good and evil as realities in the subconscious mind. The result that man was originally created in the image and likeness of God, but now man is being brought forth in the image of man. There are few people who understand that our mind functions as two separate entities, but with the emphasis on the conscious mind to the detriment of the spiritual or the subconscious mind. Here is the reason for the multitude of divisions in the church and in the constant separating of Christians from one from the other in the basis of doctrines. Truth is absolute and cannot vary because it is a manifestation of a person called Jesus Christ. Truth is not some theologically devised dogma that must be believed in a Christian. In fact, Jesus told us how to distinguish between the real and the fake, but it was not by their doctrine. It was, quote, by their fruits you will know them, because their consciousness will faithfully bring into manifestation the true fruit of their lives according to what they believe.